They called me selfish. Said my brother needed it more. After years of sacrifice, after building everything with my own two hands, my parents wanted me to hand over my house to the golden child. But this wasn't the first thing they tried to take from me. It was just the first time I said no. I'm Emily Carter, and in my family, the sun rose and set on my older brother, Daniel. The favoritism wasn't loud, it was quiet, habitual, the kind that gets woven into you so slowly you only recognize the pattern when you're already tangled in it. Growing up, my allowance never really belonged to me. I'd spend weeks saving for a paperback or a set of watercolor pencils, and on the day I finally had enough, Mom would tilt her head with that soft apology and say, "Sweetheart, Daniel needs it for something important." Important usually meant a new controller, soccer fees, gas money. I got patted on the head and praised for being so mature. I learned that in our house, maturity meant going without so Daniel didn't have to. I still remember the spring field trip to the Science Museum. I brought home the permission slip, breathless, already imagining the planetarium. Dad folded the paper and said, "Maybe next year." "We're tight right now." That Friday I watched from the classroom window as the bus rolled away. That afternoon, Daniel swaggered in with brand new cleats. He tossed the box on the table, grinning. "Coach says I've got real potential." Mom clapped. Dad beamed. I swallowed the ache in my throat and told myself I was proud of him. Later, when I won the school spelling bee, my little gold trophy lived on a shelf for exactly 1 week until it got pushed behind Daniel's bigger, shinier soccer plaque. By high school, I had a picture in my mind, dorm room posters, a campus library that smelled like warm paper, a future I'd carve out myself. There were whispers about a college fund. When senior year came and I asked to see it, Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. We had to help Daniel. He needed a car to get to his internship. The rest, whatever rest there was, went into Daniel's startup. He and his friends printed a logo on hoodies and called it a company. 6 months later it was gone, but no one ever said the word failure. The word they used was learning. Mine was sacrifice. So I learned too. I learned to take night shifts at a diner, to file financial aid forms by myself, to sleep in 20-minute slices wedged between economics lectures and dishwater and bus rides. I learned how to make coffee strong enough to turn night into day. I learned how to say I'm fine with a smile when I wasn't. Every time I walked past the parking lot and saw Daniel's car, the one my future had paid for, I felt something sharp and unfair catch in my chest. When I tried to talk about it, Mom would sigh, "Be the bigger person, Em. You're so good at that." I kept going. I graduated. I took the job no one wanted, the desk no one fought for, the projects that made other people groan. I watched supervisors lean on me because they knew I would stay late and get it right. And slowly, brick by careful brick, a life rose up beneath me. I got promoted. I negotiated better pay because no one was going to do it for me. I learned to breathe without apologizing for taking up space. The day I closed on my house, I held the keys so tightly my fingers ached. It wasn't big or glossy. The floors creaked, the paint needed love, the backyard was a tangle of stubborn weeds. But it was mine. I slept that first night on a borrowed mattress on the floor, fairy lights strung across the wall, my shoes lined up like a little procession because I had no dresser yet. I lay awake, listening to the new quiet, and for the first time in my life the quiet didn't feel like being ignored. It felt like being held. I invited my parents to see it. I made coffee, bought pastries, arranged flowers in a pitcher because I didn't own a vase. I thought maybe they would say, "We're proud of you, Emily." Maybe they would see me. Mom walked from room to room with that same assessing look she used at open houses. She opened closets, ran her fingers across the kitchen counters. Dad tested a window latch. I waited, heart nudging against my ribs like a nervous bird. "This is lovely," Mom said, and then, so casually it made my skin prickle, "You know, this would be perfect for Daniel and the baby. Don't you think?" I laughed, because the only other option was to drop the tray in my hands. "You're joking." Dad shook his head. "It's only fair. You're single, you don't need all this space. Daniel needs stability now. Family helps family." Something hot and dizzy rose to my ears. I set the tray down carefully. I worked for this. I paid for this. No. Before the word could finish echoing, Daniel strolled in, late as usual, and greeted the living room like it already belonged to him. He took one slow sweep of the place and smiled. "Hey, it's not like you'd be homeless, Em. You could take the guest room until the baby's born. After that, we'll figure something out." A sentence like a slap. My guest room. In my house. I looked at him and I saw every time my allowance had disappeared, every field trip I'd missed, every late shift and meal skipped and exam taken with shaking hands. I saw my name on the deed and his footprint already stamped over it. "No," I said again, and this time it was steady. They didn't hear me. Or they pretended not to. The speech began, "Family sacrifices. You're doing fine. He needs this more than you. Be reasonable. Don't make this hard. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish." The next weeks were a parade of pressure. Aunties called with soft voices and sharp undertones. A cousin texted me long messages about community and generosity. The family group chat pinged at midnight with photos of bassinets and ultrasounds and a message from Mom, "What kind of aunt will you be if you won't even help your brother's baby have a home?" At dinner, Dad placed his hand over mine and said, "We raised you to be good, Emily. Good girls don't say no to their family." For years I had bankrolled birthdays, bought presents signed from all of us, padded my parents' light bills with transfers labeled "just for now." I had planned every holiday menu, kept old traditions alive, remembered every anniversary card and graduation banner, and quietly did the work that makes a family feel like a family. Not because I owed it, but because loving people is what I'm good at. But love is not a deed you sign away. So I did the thing they never expected. I stepped back. At first it was small, muting the family chat, letting calls go to voicemail, not replying to guilt in the tone of concern. Then it was bigger. "No, I can't cover that bill. No, I won't host Thanksgiving. No, you cannot move into my house." Each no made room for something else: sleep, quiet, my own breath. "Tell me, do you think family love should come with a bill of sale?" The fallout came like weather. Without me, holidays weren't coordinated, menus were last-minute and lopsided. Dad forgot Mom's birthday dinner reservation and blamed the restaurant. The baby shower for Daniel's girlfriend was held in a rented room with folding chairs and no playlist. Mom texted me afterwards to say, "It just didn't feel special." The bills I used to catch before they fell, insurance, prescriptions, late fees, landed with real consequences. Daniel learned that contractors want deposits and banks want paperwork, and babies don't make people responsible just because they arrive. That first quiet December, I decorated my little living room with a skinny thrifted tree and a string of warm lights. I learned the names of my neighbors. Mrs. Alvarez from 2 houses down brought me a plate of polverons and said, "We're glad you're here." I planted rosemary and basil in pots by the kitchen window. I bought myself a second-hand bookcase and filled it with novels and cookbooks and a little ceramic bird I found at a flea market. On Saturday mornings, my friend Jess came over and we built furniture with an Allen wrench and too much coffee. We named the couch. We laughed until we were breathless, surrounded by cardboard and possibility. There were lonely nights too. Nights where I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, fighting the urge to dial a number I knew by heart. Love doesn't evaporate just because it's been misused. It lingers, stubborn and loyal, waiting for scraps. But each time I reached for the phone, I remembered Daniel in my doorway, offering me my own guest room like a consolation prize. I remembered the words selfish tossed at me like confetti. I remembered how good it felt to unlock my front door and know that every squeak in the floorboards, every lamp I turned on, every inch of this space belonged to me. Months passed. Seasons shifted. I learned to play music in the evenings while I cooked for one. I learned that quiet can be companionable. I learned I am not a background character. Then one afternoon, my phone lit up with Mom's name. I nearly let it go to voicemail. Instead, I answered and braced myself. Her voice was different. Smaller. "Emily," she said, and then nothing for a moment, like the words had to climb a hill to reach me. "We miss you. Not we need you. Not your brother needs help. Not if you were a good daughter you would. No lecture, no demand." Just 3 words my heart had memorized long ago, a door I'd never seen them open. I sat down on the edge of my bed. The rosemary in the window smelled like summer. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked twice and went quiet again. In the silence between us, I could hear the rattle of old habits and the softer shuffle of something like humility. "Mom," I said carefully. "What is it you miss?" Another quiet. Then, almost a whisper, "You. Your laugh. The way you make things feel. Warm." She cleared her throat. It hasn't been the same. The part of me that is still a child, still waiting for approval, rushed forward with open hands. The part of me that paid for my brother's car with a college fund, that watched a startup eat my future, that was asked to trade my deed for a bassinet, stood very still. I thought of walking into a housewarming and being told it wasn't mine anymore. I thought of Thanksgiving casseroles and spreadsheets and gift lists with check marks in my handwriting. I thought of my guest room, being offered to me like a favor. "If we try again," I said, surprised at how steady my voice was, "it has to be different. No more calling me selfish for saying no. No more decisions about my life without me. No more using family as a lever to pry open my boundaries. If you want me in your life, it's on new terms. My terms." I could hear her breathing, quick and light. "We can learn," she said, like someone unsure of a new language. Then, carefully, "I can learn." Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. Maybe the call was born of loneliness or embarrassment, of relatives asking too many questions, of bills that landed without me there to catch them. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was all of those at once. A week later, I opened my front door and there they were on the porch, Mom holding a small bag of oranges, Dad lingering behind her, Daniel a step back cradling the baby I'd only seen in photos. The baby yawned like the world bored him already. For a heartbeat, the old choreography tried to slot itself into place. I make coffee, I make peace, I make it easy. I stood in the doorway and did not move aside. "We want to start fresh," Mom said. "If you'll let us." I looked at the little faces I had spent years arranging into harmony, the family I had fed and organized and forgiven until I was empty. I looked past them at my living room, the light on the rug, the couch Jess and I named, the bookcase that held my hard-won quiet. I felt the invisible old gravity pull and I felt the new gravity of myself hold me steady. Maybe this was the beginning of something better. Maybe it was the start of another test I didn't have to take. Maybe, for once, I could choose the version of love that didn't require my disappearance. What do you think? After everything, do I let them back in? Or do I keep the door cracked and the locks changed and see if their actions match their words?